Hello, Abigail here with the astrology of this week. And guess what, folks? This week is slightly more chilled. We do have a couple of aspects, but it is not the laundry list we have had for what seems like for forever. So, this week, as far as like major astrological events, very much on the light side, which I think we can all appreciate, especially for those who celebrate the holiday of Christmas or any of the other holidays around this time. Not having the astrology absolutely chaotic is nice. So this is great. I do think, considering we have a little bit more time today, I do want to just kind of remind us that next season, Aquarius season, is going to be eclipse season. So all of Capricorn season is going to feel like a ramp leading to eclipses. Now, we only get one eclipse in Aquarius, and then it switches over to the where the nodes actually are, which is in Pisces. And so it's not like an immediate entrance into eclipse season, but I have a sneaking feeling it's going to feel, especially with the fact that we have our fun little Neptune conjunction happening, Neptune Saturn conjunction happening within all of this astrology, them shifting back into Aries. It definitely feels like Capricorn season is the ramp that is leading us up to that. So just know that. Also, there is a video for the astrology of Capricorn season if you kind of want to know what's going on just overall in this season. And I've also done the tarot readings for all of the signs. It's in one big video. I have attached timestamps so you can find your sun, moon, and rising or any stelliums you want to check out. So that's just a little, just so you know, since we have a little time today. Anyways, getting into it. So on Wednesday, Tuesday, not Wednesday or Tuesday, Wednesday. On Wednesday, we have Venus square Neptune. And this is a bit spicier than your normal Venus square because it's at 29 degrees, which is considered an anaretic degree, which is the degree right before you switch into a sign. And it's this feeling of intensity. If you have a 29th degree placement in your chart, I am sure there are certain parts of your life that it always feels like you're just on the edge of something, or you're just at your limit, or you're just about to figure something out. And it's this every situation, especially if it's one of the larger planets, has this kind of breathless feeling. And so that's where we are with this square. It's Venus, in Sagittarius, where it is spicy and gregarious and loud, coming up against Neptune in Pisces, which is reticent and mystical and about to finish its cycle where it's at. And there is this energy of like, ugh, why isn't this working? It's also a moment when creativity might feel a bit stuck and glitchy. And I encourage you to just sit. Just sit with it. As someone who has a 29-degree Saturn, who experiences anaretic energy every day, because it's in my sixth, sit with the energy, let it unfold, observe it, watch it, learn from it. Allow yourself to exist within the discomfort of this moment. This is also a moment where with Venus involved, we might get some revelations around, relationship dynamics. Now, Neptune can kind of make things hazy, but in a square, there's also this measure of clarity in something that hasn't been visible before. And so maybe if you're in a friendship or romantic dynamic or in a family relationship where you are not being seen or heard, or you're being told to be quiet because you are too loud or too much, this is that moment where you kind of get to pull the veil back a bit and go, oh, they're just projecting. And I deserve to be fluent and fluid and excited and happy in my relationship dynamics. And no, it's not going to be all the time, but you deserve to feel joy in whatever relationships you are in. And if you are not, this is a moment to be like, huh. And it is an opportunity. It's not like necessarily like we sever this relationship and say bye. It might be depending on where you are because of that energetic degree with the relationship. But in the very least, it's an opportunity to be creative about this dynamic, to problem solve, to figure out how this works. I would suggest doing the figuring once we get out of this. It'll happen really early on Wednesday, and by the time we end Wednesday, it'll be in a new sign. So let's simmer for a little bit. I don't know if you can hear it, but my baby dog is right here licking his toes. Are you beautiful? Fun fact, he hates when I record, but he's decided to join me on the couch to keep an eye on me. I know you don't like the lights, mommy not talking to you. You see it here. Anyways, so this is a moment where we kind of get to realize how things have been and how they have not been. This is also tricky because it is on Christmas Eve. And so you will, not all of us, me included, but those of you who are going to be with people and with family, this will be a moment where you might see just how bad things are. You might see just how regressive some of your relationship dynamics are. And like I said, I would suggest cooling it till Christmas to maybe make any moves. But it is an opportunity to dig into the fantasy of Neptune in a way where you're like, yeah, the dynamic I'm in is not even close what I would dream of and not even good for like normal everyday use. So either something has to change or I need to stop participating. And that's a choice you get to make. We do then have Venus, of course, later in this day going into Capricorn where it is in detriment. Is it detriment? No, Venus is fine in Capricorn. Why am I saying that? Venus in Capricorn is tricky because it's not in detriment, but Venus is very happy in Cancer. And so having it, you know, in Capricorn, while it's not necessarily horrible, it is a very kind of aggressive Venus. Venus can be aggressive, but mostly in more like a potent and overpowering way. But Venus in Capricorn is very much, these are the rules, this is the thing, this is how I want to build. If you love stability and someone who will show up for you consistently, Venus and Capricorn is your friend. I would say check what house it's in because that can very much affect the vibe. But Earth Venus is, with maybe the exception of Virgo because of the fallen nature. Taurus Venus is, domicile. Capricorn Venus is very solid. If you want some more consistency, some comfort, that maybe is a Venus for you. But yeah, this is a Venus that gets to work. This is a Venus that wants to grow and build and progress. Capricorn for me is the sign of alchemy and transmutation. It takes something unseen and takes it into the seen realm, into the material realm. And so, this is the time to manifest what you want. It's also not a horrible time to start dating. That's my personal opinion. I would check where it is in your chart because, or to like start pursuing someone or to like share your feelings with someone, especially if you're looking for something long term, because it'll get it done. Now, is Venus like super thrilled to be in Capricorn? Not necessarily. Venus doesn't get to rest a lot in Capricorn. Venus always has a task lined up under the Saturn, the Saturn rulership. But it is progress, and it is progress often for the things that we want, which is something that Venus is very pro. Here, I'll let you see Reggie since he's here. Hi, Maybe. I'll just say hi. This is my angel baby. So yeah, that is what's happening on Christmas Eve. Fruitcake down. And then we get kind of a clear spot. Now remember, astrology is always happening. We get kind of a clear spot, but then we have Mercury trine Chiron, and Chiron is still retrograde. It stations direct next week, I believe. But with this Mercury trine Chiron, and it's always funny to me what happens around holiday seasons because it's about trauma and it's about where we've been harmed. Chiron is over in Aries, Mercury is currently in Sagittarius. We're being asked to give voice and give language and give passion towards the places we have been harmed, the places where we have not been seen, we have not been listened to, especially in Aries, the places where we have been treated as though we are too childish or that we're not mature enough or, that we don't get a say. Aries is the youngest zodiac sign. And so oftentimes when Chiron stuff happens in Aries, you can be belittled for your youth or belittled for your inexperience when maybe you're just naturally gifted. And also my personal belief is that children deserve to be treated like humans. And so a lot of childhood trauma, a lot of kind of initial trauma is going to be coming up in this. It is a trine. I will say trines with trickier, planetoids in this case. They tend to bring a rush of energy, a rush of feeling. There might be a lot of anger, a lot of rage around this, especially in the fire sign. It might also just because Mercury is in Sagittarius, where it is in, detriment. It also might be a time where you just pop off and you say how you feel without a filter. My only thing with that, I'm very pro saying how you feel and being direct. My only caveat is that is if like you want to maintain a relationship, maybe dial it down a smidge. because you might say some stuff you can't take back if you really pop off at this time. But my kind of perspective on that is like maybe it's the time. Maybe it's the time to be raw and unreasonable and brutally honest with how you feel about stuff. And when I say brutal honesty, I'm not talking about the excuse to harm people that a lot of times brutal honesty, but like being upfront about your feelings without filtering them. Really letting whoever you're communicating this with, whether it be yourself, whether it be others, communicating the raw pain and hurt that you've experienced in these dynamics. We're not quite to the end of Chiron and Aries, but we are getting there. And so we've been here for a minute. Chiron actually has a fun little thing where it doesn't stay in the same length of time in different signs um, because of its orbit. So it's it's not like more as consistent as the planets. So we know we've been here for a minute and we're coming to the close. We're going to go into Taurus eventually. And this is the time to be honest. And also, this is a really good transit to be be clear about the ways you've been harmed, especially in childhood, the ways you were harmed even as an adult in positions where you are new, in situations where you don't have as much experience, where you're being taken advantage of, exploited, not paid enough, mistreated because you're young and wide eyed. Even if you're old, whatever the context is, you don't have the information that you need because you were fresh in a situation. With parents, obviously, that would be childhood. In other situations, it can be jobs, it can be friendships, it can be like relationships where you've never been in a certain dynamic before. And so this Sunday is the day to, in the very least, be honest with yourself, with how you've been hurt and with how you have been taken advantage of or used or manipulated by someone else because you came in with a very Aries energy of like honesty and belief and trust. And someone took that and used it in order to enrich themselves or to make themselves more comfortable and feel better. Meanwhile, you're in Aries land with that Mars energy having to do all of these difficult things. And that's what a detriment Mercury is good for. It is good for the raw, unfiltered, nitty gritty of how we express ourselves and feel. I also think this might be a great time to really let yourself cry, get aggressive with not other people, but like if you need to go to a rage room, if you need to hit a pillow, get it out of your body in some way because we are in fire energy and that is usually helpful. And it will absolutely clear some of this energy, whether that other person cares to listen or not, because you are now free of it. You have now processed it. You have now moved it through in a very trying way. And it's going to benefit you, especially as we move into 2026, to have clarity on these feelings of hurt so that you can continue to grow and change without having to like repress this pain in order to keep other people safe and comfy. Anyways, that's the astrology for this week. So there is a lot of disappointment in this. There's a lot of moments of recognition, but we do have Venus in Capricorn, in a place where she's a little crusty, but she's focused on, or rather, they're focused on, you know, a belief in the future, in building something, in strength, in clarity, in connection, in order to benefit all of us. And that's a really great energy to have while dealing with these complicated feelings, because that also means that other people are going to show up in very Venus Capricorn ways as well. And so, in the areas where people are at odds with us, we will also find people who want to build nice things with us, who want to create and grow and transmute things into other things, just like the Capricorns always do. Anyways, my dears, that is my reading for this week. If you have any questions, you can pop them below. Please like and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you all later.